Welcome to this explainer. Look, today we're breaking down a pretty massive shift that's happening right now in modern enterprises. For years, companies have hit this same frustrating bottleneck, right? We're hoarding mountains of raw information, but we're struggling to bridge the gap from having that data to actually taking strategic action based on it. Well, there's a new AI architecture that's completely flipping the script on this. Let's jump right in and see how we're finally turning all that raw data into concrete bottom-line decisions.
Let's start with a reality that I know every executive faces literally every day. Data is everywhere. Signals, noise, fragments. You know the feeling. As business leaders, you're completely overwhelmed by this storm of fragmented data. You've got dashboards on top of dashboards, alerts going off, reports piling up on your desk. Honestly, the problem isn't a lack of information anymore. It's a complete lack of synthesis.
Having the data is easy, but actually understanding it, that's the hard part. But thankfully, there's a very specific, new component designed to cut right through that exact chaos. And to be clear, we aren't just talking about another fancy dashboard or a better search bar. We're talking about a distinct architectural entity built specifically to process this absolute noise and deliver actionable truth. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start by looking at this journey from chaos to clarity, then officially meet the reasoning agent. Next, we'll compare guessing to real computation, walk through a real-world database troubleshooting scenario, contrast static and dynamic planning, and wrap up with how we actually turn data into decisions.
All right, let's hit section 1, from chaos to clarity and the executive's data dilemma.
Today's enterprise systems are just pulling in insane amounts of raw inputs. We're talking about a relentless 24/7 stream of external market data, internal performance indicators, system logs, the works. But without some kind of guiding intelligence, it's just a meaningless storm of numbers. You can't make a multi-million-dollar strategic decision just by staring at one isolated market indicator, right? You absolutely need context.
Which brings us right to section 2, meet the reasoning agent, or as I like to think of it, demystifying the AI senior analyst.
Enter the reasoning agent. At its core, this is the component that takes all the scattered outputs from your lower-level AI agents, specifically your retriever and tool agents, and synthesizes them into a coherent, logical answer. Think of the reasoning agent as the actual mind of the operation. While traditional systems just spit raw numbers at you, this agent actively figures out the answer to the ultimate executive question. What does all this stuff actually mean for my business? I absolutely love this analogy because it shows how this AI ecosystem perfectly mirrors a real corporate team. Think of your retriever agent as your junior researcher, just out there collecting PDFs and documents. Then your tool agent is your technical engineer bringing you the raw metrics and numbers. The reasoning agent, that's your senior analyst. It's the role that actually connects the dots and explains the story, turning that fragmented work into a polished executive briefing you can use. Except, this analyst works 24/7 and doesn't need coffee breaks.
Let's look at how this AI senior analyst actually works under the hood. It follows this beautifully logical 4-step process. Step 1, it systematically takes in all those inputs, the market data, the logs, the whole shebang. Step 2, it scans for patterns, trends, and those hidden anomalies you might miss. Step 3 is the real magic. It applies strict cause and effect logic to those patterns. And finally, step 4, it generates a structured, totally clear answer. It doesn't just act as a middleman passing along information. It completely digests it for you.
Moving right along to section 3, guessing versus real computation and the power of tools. This is a massive point right here. An AI without tools is, frankly, just guessing. It's relying entirely on static, outdated knowledge from whenever it was initially trained, which is exactly how you end up with risky hallucinations and bad info. But an AI that's equipped with operational tools, that changes the game entirely. It executes real computation on live data. It's actively pulling the exact up-to-the-second metrics from your live environment, giving you highly accurate insights you can actually trust your business with.
So if you take one thing away, it's this idea right here. We're elevating our systems from merely seeing data to genuinely understanding it. It's the fundamental difference between a system that just flashes a red light because your database is slow and a system that tells you exactly why it's slow and gives you the exact steps to fix it.
Let's ground this theory in a real-world scenario. Section 4, Troubleshooting Database Performance.
Picture this. It's the middle of the workday, and your core Oracle database suddenly hits a wall, halting operations and literally costing your enterprise money by the minute. You ask the system, hey, why is Oracle DB slow? Instantly, your lower-level agents spring into action.
The retriever and tool agents fetch the raw symptoms. They find an 85% high I/O weight, heavy lock contention, and a missing index on the orders table. Okay, that's great data, but on its own, it's just a stressful list of symptoms in the middle of a crisis.
Now watch how the reasoning agent plays detective. It takes those isolated symptoms and rigorously connects them using if-then logic. It deduces, okay, if I/O is high, there's a disk bottleneck. If locks are high, we've got a concurrency issue. And if an index is missing, you're definitely getting slow queries. It builds this entire chain of events, realizing the missing index is causing full table scans, which spikes the I/O weight, while parallel jobs are simultaneously causing that lock contention. It takes total operational chaos and untangles it into one clear narrative.
And because it truly understood the root cause, the reasoning agent doesn't just hand you a totally overwhelming 50-page log file and wish you luck. No, it provides a definitive, strategic recommendation. Add an index on the orders table, reduce parallel jobs, and optimize these queries. It literally hands your engineering team the exact blueprint to fix the bottleneck instantly.
So the entire database diagnosis flow happens in just 5 seamless steps. Detect the slow query, retrieve the logs, run live tool checks, identify the root cause, and recommend the fix. Boom! It takes you from a scattered, expensive operational emergency to a definitive executive solution in just seconds.
Let's look at how it manages complexity in Section 5, Static versus Dynamic Planning.
Look, static planning is perfectly fine for simple, fixed tasks, like when an AI just needs to grab a file, use a tool once, and spit out an answer. But enterprise reality is messy. Dynamic planning completely elevates operational efficiency because it gives you real-time adaptability. If the agent retrieves logs and hits a dead end, or uncovers a deeper issue, it doesn't just freeze and return an error code. Actually, it automatically adjusts its own plan. It loops back, runs deeper checks, retries different tools, and only then reasons out the final answer. It handles all that enterprise-level complexity without needing a human to hold its hand.
All right, bringing it all home with Section 6, Turning Data into Decisions, from Chaos to Clarity.
Going forward, this needs to be your mental model as a leader. The reasoning agent is the essential bridge in your tech stack. It's what transforms raw, lifeless data into true insight. It turns noisy, scattered signals into firm, confident decisions. And ultimately, it turns operational chaos into complete and total clarity.
Because at the end of the day, the reasoning agent doesn't just process information, it understands it. We're officially moving past that era where businesses just bragged about raw computing power and processing speed. We are stepping into an era of automated, logical comprehension.
I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to wrap up this explainer. People always say your data is your power, right? And you have the data, you've got the logs, the metrics, all of it. But until you deploy a reasoning agent to actually connect the dots, does your system understand any of it? Are you truly leveraging that power to make strategic decisions, or are you just staring at the noise? Think about that. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.